Hi, I'm Melissimo, and I have only ever rated one book 5 stars. I used to never be able to explain why I'm so stingy in my rating of books. I just felt like to rate a book 5 out of 5 stars would be this declaration of perfection, that there was no room for improvement. I only ever had one book I felt deserved 5 stars. And every time I read a book that I really enjoy and consider giving 5 stars, I think back on my favorite book and realize that this new story is not at the same level. So that's why in the past I've never rated a book more than 5 stars. However, when 2021 hit, I decided I needed to have a little bit more depth to my rating system than just how does it compare to my favorite book in the entire world. So I have devised a new rating system and I'm going to break it down in this video. I know everyone and their grandmother has their own rating system, but in case you love hearing about rating systems, here's mine. I am sticking with a 5-star scale just because that's what most rating websites like Goodreads or Amazon already have set up on their site. But my 5-star scale isn't linearly based off of enjoyment the way Goodreads is. You know, on Goodreads, they have little prompts for you that if you rate it 3 stars, it means you liked it. If you rate it 1 star, it means you didn't like it, etc. Instead, I've decided I'm going to break up my rating system into 5 separate categories in which a book can earn 1 star. And these are the categories. My first category is, do I think the writing is subjectively good? Now, I use subjective here because obviously what styles of writing I enjoy will not be universally beloved. Now that I think about it, subjective should just be in every single one of these category titles. Most books I rate in this category will get at least half a star. As long as a book isn't painful to read, I'm not going to be mean and not give it at least something. To get a full star though, there does have to be a level of technical excellence that I've picked up on. Is the language used in a way I feel is particularly effective, or are there multiple sentences that are just beautiful to say out loud? But again, as long as I can just read without being distracted by the writing gets half a star at least. For a book to get the goose egg in this category, the writing has to be so bad it's painful, and I really just don't come across books like that very often. I've read some fan fictions that would get a 0. An example of a book I would give a full star in this category is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I am just constantly amazed whenever I read that story of her command of the English language. The writing in that book is so good. But before you immediately think that I'm being a classic snob, let me also say I have yet to read a Dickens book that gets more than half a star, and I would probably award a full star for writing for the book Holes by Lewis Sacker. So there is variety. Category number 2 in which a book can earn a star is, are the characters realistic for their setting? Or are they at least interesting within the context of their universe? What I mostly mean by this is that I want to read about people who feel like real people. If I'm reading contemporary fiction like takes place in high school or college or the workplace, and the antagonist is acting evil for no reason other than to be evil and the protagonist can do no wrong, then the book won't get a star in this category. There is nothing that takes me out of a book more than characters acting completely unnatural. However, if we are in high fantasy and the battle between good and evil is sort of an element of the world building, I'll be a little more forgiving and reward maybe half a star. But to get a full star, a book needs to give me that good old nuance. Treat human beings, or you know, fairies or whatever, like the multifaceted, complex creatures that I know they are. A book that would earn 0 stars in this category would be Gabriel's Inferno by Sylvain Renard. If you have literally never heard of this book, don't worry. I doubt most people have. I forced myself to read this book for a video last year. The general idea was I went to Barnes & Noble and I rolled a 20-sided dice that I normally use for Dungeons & Dragons, and I kept rolling it and whittled down genre, author last name, and finally book title, and the dice gods were kind enough to serve me up this treasure. I'll link that video down below if you want to watch that journey. It was certainly interesting. So I know I should probably be a little forgiving to this book because it is a romance. I treat romances with the same grace I would treat high fantasy in the context of character realisticness, but I can't get over how absurd the male and female protagonist of this story are. Their actions make no sense whatsoever unless you consider the fact that the author needs them to act in a certain way in order to drive the plot forward, and I hate that. So, no star. That was more aggressive than I wanted it to be. Anyway, category number 3 is the ending earned / do character deaths feel cheap? Character death earns its own place in this title because of how significantly cheap deaths affect me. All facets of an ending could be perfectly set up, hinted at, built towards, perfect. But if the author makes the mistake of killing off a character just to be dramatic or just to upset the audience, or the reason the character died is stupid, then no star is given in this category. I know that seems harsh, but I need to have my vengeance in some way. Now, for a book to earn a full star in this category is actually pretty general. In fact, I think this is the category I would most often award a full star. If there is a surprise twist that I totally did not see coming, but looking back, can definitely see all the cookie crumbs that led up to it, full star. If there was a twist that I saw coming a mile away, but it still made sense for the story and it set up the ending really well, full star. But if there's a big battle at the end of our series and every named character who we have come to love walks away from that battle alive, half a star. I'll be generous since the author was merciful, and sometimes you just need stories where everyone lives. An example of a book that would not earn a star in this category is Anna K by Jenny Lee. I actually really liked this book. It was a modern retelling of Anna Karenina and had a lot of satire elements that I personally really enjoyed. However, spoiler alert, by the way, the death that occurs at the end of this story felt so forced that it really tarnished the rest of the book. And yes, I know what happens in Anna Karenina, so I understand why the author felt like this death was the death that needed to happen in this story, but the setup for it was just not there. Every decision that led up to this character's death felt so forced and out of place that it was just very obvious to me that the author was just forcing the characters to make these decisions so this death would occur. And like I said, I hate that, so 0 star for that category. The 4th category in which a book I have read can earn a star is its ability to hold interest. This one is pretty simple. Just did the plot of the book hold my interest? I wanted this to be a category on its own because I have read books where the writing is lovely, the ending is perfectly set up, the characters are nuanced, and yet I was bored to tears. And typically when that happens, it's because there's something about the pacing or the plot that I'm just not vibing with. If I can't put a book down or I'm constantly thinking about it when I have put it down, then it gets a full star in this category. If when I'm reading the book, I'm interested and engaged, but I'm able to put it down and not look at it again for multiple days or even weeks, then it's only gonna earn half a star. And if there's a book where it feels like a slog and a chore to get through every single chapter and I'm constantly looking to see how much of the book is left, then it gets the goose egg. An example of a full star book for this category that I recently read is A Winter's Promise by Christelle Davos. I read this book in a single day, and I feel like it's pretty big. I could not put it down. An example of a book that would earn half a star in this category, we have The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. I really enjoy this book while I'm reading it, but it has taken me months to read it. For some reason, whenever I put it down, I don't pick it up again for at least 4 weeks. I don't know why. Oh, I should say that this half a star is technically hypothetical because I haven't even finished this yet. So, and a book that would earn 0 stars in this category. Oh, Gabriel's Inferno. What are you doing here again? I hated every minute of this book. And finally, my 5th category. This category is just titled Je ne sais quoi. I believe it is the category that will continue to make it difficult for any book I read to earn 5 stars. Most books I read won't earn any star in this category. A book can have earned 4 whole stars in the previous 4 categories, and I can really enjoy it, and yet it just didn't have a je ne sais quoi that bumped it up to a higher tier in my mind. Now, this category is kind of broken up into 2 separate categories. The first half of this star, I really give as like a catch-all term for anything I loved about this book that didn't quite fall under the umbrella of all the other categories. If if this book had an aesthetic that I particularly liked, or there was a character that I just absolutely loved. Maybe it was just trashy, fun, guilty pleasure awesomeness. Anything random, anything je ne sais quoi, a book will get half a star. But to earn a full star in this category, the book has to mean something more to me. There has to be a deep connection that I can't quite quantify. I don't know why it's there, it's just there. It's the sort of book that will have me thinking about it for months after I finished. The kind of book that shifts my personality a little bit, or a lot of it. I'm looking at you, Twilight. It's the kind of book that just truly has je ne sais quoi. And there you have it. That is my rating system. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me ramble about the very convoluted way in which I determine if a book is worthy of my appreciation or not. And as a reward, if you made it all the way to this part of the video, I will inform you that my favorite book of all time, the only book I have ever rated 5 stars, is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. If you've been watching my channel, I'm sure you might be surprised that it's not Twilight. It's not Twilight. Even when I was obsessed with Twilight, this was my favorite book of all time. I love this book. It has been with me through the best times of my life and the worst times of my life. And there is nothing anyone could ever say that could convince me that it is not absolute perfection. The only downside to this book that I can think of is that every time I read it, it makes me realize I will never be as good an author as Douglas Adams. Like, I know for a fact I will not rate any book I ever write 5 stars because of how much I love this book. But there you have it. Now you know the book to which all other books aspire. And I really don't have much else to say. Again, thank you so much for watching all the way through this. I have been rambling for almost, over an hour, I think, so I'm gonna really have to edit this down. Let me know down in the comments your special rating system. Like I said, I know a lot of people have made videos about this, so if you have made a video about this, please tell me down below so I can go and check it out, because I actually love hearing about how people rate books. I think it really gives a little bit of a glimpse into how the person's mind works. But that's gonna be it for me from now. Until next time, go be happy, go be healthy, and go write. Bye.